the buy local movement is kind of what I'm hearing out of that, right? So I don't know, 5-10 years ago, the buy local movement really pushed through as a big marketing campaign. I think actually one of the companies locally started it, Independent We Stand, through Still, which is something that most people don't know either. But what's interesting is, or like the whole buy local thing to me, like it seems like it's kind of run its course and people don't care the same way anymore. They'd rather care for convenience, right? They'd rather go on Amazon, Target.com, Walmart.com, get that thing now, and that's all they care about. But I do think that people want to support local when they can, things like that. Like, how can someone support the buy local movement, their local small businesses and things like that? What's the best way? Because, it seems like that whole buy local movement doesn't have the clout that it once did, because convenience isn't there the same way that some of these other things are. And people care more about convenience than.
Well, certainly now in COVID.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think to a certain extent, COVID kind of helped a lot of the small business. Now, I'm not saying they're not struggling, because Lord knows a lot of our small to medium-sized businesses have struggled over the last 18 months. But at the same token, I know just in my neighborhood, and again, this is somewhat anecdotal, but when we went on lockdown, one of the places we had food delivered from the large majority of the time were small, privately owned restaurants right here close to our neighborhood, because I could either run over and do pickup right at their front door, or they could in turn deliver to us because we were close together. I think the other sometimes narrative that people tend to forget is that just because the brand or the logo on the front door is considered a national brand, that somehow that's a corporation. Which, yes, from a franchise standpoint, maybe that is, but I think people tend to forget that in many cases, the person who actually owns that franchise as a franchisee, the person that's managing that location, and the staff that work there, those are all local people.
Yeah.
There's nothing not local about that, except that maybe the brand on the front door. And even with your larger corporations, I mean, a perfect example is like an ADP that's in downtown Norfolk. I mean, they're not only national but international. Right. But the hundreds and hundreds of people that work in there, they're all local. So the brand, I think, is something that sometimes people get too caught up in as it's national or it's corporate or they're not local. There's very little about any of these companies that's not local. Simply because that's who those people are. Now,
so then in that mindset, is the buy local movement irrelevant then, because everything is local?
No, I think where buy local has been very effective, and I think from a marketing standpoint has been very valuable, is the difference sometimes between a buy local and a larger corporation is because I am a franchise owner and because I do have the brand awareness. I've got a company behind me that has the dollars to help promote that brand. So if I open a Wawa, it may be locally run and managed, but everybody knows Wawa because Wawa has strong marketing dollars behind it. I think where the buy local becomes more effective is when you have a buy local campaign and you have these websites that help pull together a lot of these locally owned and startup businesses. That's where you have that ability to be able to compete from a branding and marketing standpoint that maybe they otherwise wouldn't if they were just doing it on their own. Because there's always value in numbers. And if you can do collaborative efforts like that at a buy local level, then that gives me an opportunity to know about a local restaurant, a local retailer that maybe I otherwise wouldn't, because they can't afford to go drop 10 grand on a marketing campaign